Okay, welcome along to the Point Blank Studios here in London, where today we're joined by DJ and producer T. Williams. T's here with us today to give a bit of an insight into his track Synthia from his latest EP, the Can We EP on Enchufada Records, which you can buy right now. So first of all, many thanks for coming down.
Thanks for having me.
No problem. So before we get into the track itself, I wondered if you could give us a bit of background on yourself and how you originally got into making music.
I mean, I originally got into making music at a very young age. I mean, just dabbling with things indoors in my house, and I mean, with the fact that I first got a PC when I was maybe like 11 or something like that. I mean, I managed to get my hand on Cubasis, and yeah, that's where that's where it all started from. Literally at 12, something like that, 12, 13, I was dabbling and mucking around at home, and yeah, just got into like the studio equipment and took it from there, kind of thing.
Okay.
Yeah.
What type of music were you making back then?
Back then it was garage.
Yeah.
Just, yeah, I was trying to make garage. I don't know if I could actually call it garage. I was trying to replicate garage, and obviously as the years went by, I kind of like moulded and formed into grime. So I was making hard garage, which was really hard anyway. Right. And yeah, then I moved on to making grime, and yeah, really focused on doing that.
And so how do you get from the grime days into, I guess what you're making now is house music, but in a kind of loose sense of the word?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, like I said, I was into garage, and it was house and garage at the time, and that kind of bumpy kind of garage swing.
Yeah, like New Jersey stuff.
Yeah, which is still it feels like it's still around very much today, and that's what's kind of going on. So that's how I've kind of, for myself, how I've connected the dots between what I was doing maybe then and what I'm doing now. It's just the groove and the swing of things that is still there, but obviously it's a lot harder. It's not, you know what I mean, I'm definitely making the harder side of, if you want to call it house, the harder side of that.
And what about Synthia itself, which we're going to take a look at?
I mean, Synthia itself it's not a house track, but yeah, I mean, to me, like I said, when I get in the studio, I kind of just vibe and make whatever I feel comfortable doing at that time on that specific day, however I feel. So
you don't have a specific approach when you come to write?
Definitely not. I mean, I'll get into it as well. Like I just feel it's really cool now that I can be as free as I want to be when I go to the studio, and I literally just go in, sit down, and this is more of a kind of like break. It's a kind of breaky track, and do you know what I mean? That was the vibe of the day. That's what I was in. That's what I was doing, and yeah,
cool.
It was good. Yeah. So
cool.
Yeah.
Let's take a look.
All right. Well, I mean, to start off with this track in particular, Synthia, it was something that I thought of while I was walking down the road, while I was on my way to the studio, and I mean, what I always do when I'm on my way to the studio, just to get started on a track, I always I might just hum something into my iPhone and just record it.
So you begin working before you even got to
before I even got to the studio, yeah. But the idea's in the head, but I kind of, to get it out, I'll hum something record it into my iPhone, and yeah, do you know what I mean? That will be the melody. So with this track, I literally hummed it into the iPhone, and when I got to the studio, I exported it from my iPhone onto the computer, and then yeah, I mean so I started off, which this is not always the way I work, but like I said, I haven't got any rules for it. I just literally go in the studio and get started on something as and when it is. So with this track, I started off with the melody. So the synth line itself, that was the first thing I started off with. So with this track, I started off with a synth line, and even from the point when I was walking down the road with humming the track in my head, I already knew that I wanted it to kind of have that elevating feel to it. So just in here, I mean, the synth itself is a basic synth from the EXS 24 on Logic. It's a sound that, being honest, pretty much anyone could get involved with. I've just added a bit of glide here as well. Also made the sustain at maximum as well. But then just to get that feel, of rising. Now, as you can see, I've opened up the release here on the track, on the synth line, just to give it that feel when it went on the drop, and well, pretty much at the end of each phrase, like I literally, yeah, I just make it rise and let the release off, and I mean that gives it that feel.
Do you tend to record your automation live?
Yes, I've got a Novation Nocturne. It's very affordable controller surface, and with this track, I actually didn't record it live. I actually didn't record this one live, but I do, generally speaking, I will record it live. But with this one, because there was a lot that I wanted to do, and I wanted it to be precise. Okay. I would have penciled this in directly. Yeah. What else have I got on here on the automation track here? I've got a send as well, which has got an echo, again standard echo from Logic as well, and Goldverb, which is another standard reverb from Logic. I mean, nothing in it. Again, just knowing what I wanted to, how I wanted it to sound, is probably the biggest thing with this track, and the synth line itself. Just knowing exactly how I wanted it to sound and how I wanted to. I knew how I wanted to achieve that, and the simplicity of it kind of relates back to maybe my grind path with this particular track. So yeah, just not trying to overcomplicate it. You've got. I thought of a really cool groove in my head. I've managed to get it down onto Logic with a nice synth line, and yeah, I just kept it as simple as possible, just so people it really would stick in people's heads. Yeah,
and it's effective in the club as well. You know, I think it really is.
Definitely fits in the club. Okay, so I mean, with my synth line down, and picking the basic synth from Logic and the EXS24, I kind of moved on to the drums. Now, I did experiment with a number of different drum loops, as I do, a number of different drum sounds, but I kind of felt that the aim and break, which, I mean, we all know, love that aim and break. Yeah, I mean, I felt that was the most fitting. I haven't used it in a standard way here. I mean, this is the raw loop I would have started off with. Again, it's just the aim and break chopped up in the EXS24 sampler on Logic, and yeah, I'm only using the kick and the snare from it at this particular time, and then I would have moved on. What else have I got here? I mean, so here I've got an extra snare there, just to give it that extra accent as well. I mean, there's layers of snares here as well. This one with a little bit of cut off on it. Just turn down a little bit of cut off here. Yeah, just to fill it out, and I mean, for me, again, it's literally a vibe. When I'm there creating, and when I was creating this track, it literally was just a vibe. As I was building, I was literally just putting the things in place as I felt and they needed to be. Sometimes I went over top, and then I would strip things back, but just kept building from there. Again, little sounds here and there that add to it. Yeah.
Little percussive elements.
Yeah, little percussive elements in there that maybe on a whole finish you might not be able, you won't hear them, you won't be able to pick them out. But as again, they fill out the actual track itself, and as it is with arrangement wise and instrumentation, this track is solely drums, bass, and synth line. There's only 3 elements really going on in the track. It needed to be full. It needed to be full, and that's where I've gone with the drums here. I'm just trying to keep it as full as possible with the groove. The backbone of most of my tracks when it comes to kick drums is the 808 kick. I mean, wow, okay. That's the 808 there. Just yeah, very subby. I like to have it like that. And that again, another thing that I was going for with this track is so that my 808 was pumping and had enough weight and bass to it as well. So the groove of the drum, the groove of the kick drum, would kind of like lead the track along as well. Yeah. Another kick drum here, bit dirty as well. Yeah. But again, that was the vibe I was looking for. I was going for. I sampled the kick drum in and kind of like bounced it down. It was just dirty as, but that's what I wanted underneath the track to fill things out. Synth Bassline here again, EFM1, no trickery going on here, nothing magical going on here. This was actually a bass sound that I kind of had been mucking around with, and I used for a remix that I did for another label, and yeah, I just thought it was fitting for this track as well, that it could go underneath. We've got it going on. Where is that sound? Yeah, if we just get into that and have a listen to that sound. It's EFM1 rolling here.
Do you tend to stick with Logic's in the box, as it were?
I mean, it literally depends on what I'm doing. Like with this track, as we were talking about earlier on, like keeping it simple and getting the idea down and kind of rolling with something really quickly. That, I mean, Logic's got enough in there for you to, do you know what I mean, to make something and it to be a competent track out there in the world. So with this track, I just wanted to get the idea out and on the page. That was the main focus. So, i.e.
And if you know the instruments within Logic, you know, like the back of your hand, then you know.
Yeah. Go straight in. Yeah. There's no doubt about that. And I mean, like I said, I've only been on Logic. I started off on Cubase and moved along with Cubase. I've only been on Logic for maybe the last 4 to 5 years. Okay. So it's a long time, but I've been from Logic 7, I think it is. Yeah. And yeah, I mean these instruments have been there since Logic 7. So yeah. And so again, synth line, bass synth line, just following the synth line on top and just reiterating what's going on the track. Okay, now arrangement, really simple here. Again, just to keep it intro. Starting off with the drums, leading into as we're talking about out of the box, yeah, filter. This is my favourite filter, the Camel Fat, Camel by Camel Audio. I use it on a lot of my tracks as well. Yeah, I just think the filter the filter just sounds nice, and I mean again, I just done high pass filter and just opened it up the low end as well, so that yeah, it would just that the. As you can see here, automation, just bringing down the low end, letting the low end through on the filter. And again, this is another idea that I literally had in my head from the minute I decided to do this track. I had that in my head that I was gonna have the synth line creeping in. In the intro, do you know what I mean? Leading you into, well, yeah, just leading you into it and easing into it nicely. So as it comes in, so we've got here some people find it a bit cheesy, but I love using a bit of noise, white noise in my tracks as well. Yeah, this is from Ultra Beat, using the noise generator on Ultra Beat. Again, just using a filter, standard filter on Ultra Beat, and I mean it always does the job. Like in a club situation, if you had a little bit of white noise on a break to build up to the drop, it accents it a lot more. So I've got snares going off here, and with them, literally, it's just volume, just volume, just to roll in nicely. I've brought the volume down. Simple as that. Into the drop. And obviously synth line here with the release opening and having the echo and the reverb building as well, which leads you into a nice drop for the track. Then bring it all right back to the original synth line. I said sit, and basically it's just two sections. So we have the main section here. Right. So even with the synth line, as it's rolling, I decided obviously it could get a bit monotonous, just going around. Da, 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 da. Yeah. So just to break that up, just added a few mutes on, just a few mutes within the melody here, and that adds a bit of differentiation. And again, always playing with the automation, keeping it rolling. Always playing with the automation. I don't think there's any bar that's exactly the same on this track, to be honest with you. And that's where it can be simple, but then you can make it interesting with your automation and the different things you can do on the live side of things. Yeah, and again, rolling straight into a break. I'll draw back on the synth line. And so as you've taken a lot away there and you've muted things out, and now you give them back the original synth line. With the bass rolling as well. And out, it's basically a repetition of the first section from there. How I would then continue from here is I would bounce down every single track, the stems of every single track into audio files. I mean, I know a lot of people do this, but for me, that's when I get in and I still mess around with the arrangement. I'll show you guys the audio arrangement that I have here.
And that's something you do in all your work?
In all my work, every single time I will bounce down to two stems.
Okay, cool.
And at this point, I will use the Waves plugins and kind of, and even still some sound design as well on tracks. Here, as you can see, there's extra, and also EQing. Yeah. So I do all my EQing at this stage as well. So this is basically the mixdown stage with a little bit of arrangement, cutting and splicing going on as well.
Yeah. Did you do any EQ on the way, I guess?
I make it sound nice.
Yeah.
But the final EQ will come at this point. Also, a bit of sidechain as well going on here as well. So, as we was talking about as well, like there's I wanted my 808 to kind of cut through and drive the track along. So in doing so, I knew that I wanted to have the kind of the bass and the synth line to kind of recede as well at the same time. So again, a bit of sidechain going on. Sidechain. Sidechain just pumping via the 808 kick. What's I've got going on here? I mean, at this stage, I add compression, and like I said before, I do use a lot of out of the box from Logic as well. So this is just standard Logic compressor, and I think it does the job.
Do you have any kind of when you do come to the mix stage? Do you have any settings on a compressor that you favour, or?
No, do you know, I literally go in and play it by ear. Yeah. I always play it by ear. I always go in and play it by ear. Again, with the drums, I use the CL8 drums. This always works for me as well. I'll pick snare if I've got a snare going on, a tom if I've got a tom setting on it, tom if I've got a tom going on. You might even hear the difference here. So yeah, very slight but extra reverb coming from the Waves plugin. And I mean, I just add and fiddle and play as much as possible.
And how do you, when you do come to this stage and you're still kind of tweaking with the arrangement and stuff, do you find it easy when to say that's the tune done?
Yeah, and because it's in audio, it makes it a lot easier to say the tune's done, and that's probably one of the main reasons why I take it to this stage. I get the MIDI arrangement stage as happy as possible, and then I'll move on to the audio stage, and that means it's in there. It's the groove, the melody, everything's there. You can't change it. It's a static now, and that leads you on to a point where you can only do so much with the audio. So yeah, you get to a point where you're completely happy with it, and it will be done. On the synth line, so we've got extra reverb again, more reverb. We've got a vocal rider going on here as well. That is obviously not necessarily meant to be used for that, but just to level things out. Again, it's another compressor. Just to level things out, it works perfectly fine. EQ, fitting it in its space on the frequency range, and all in all sidechained to the kick drum again. Okay, I mean, all in all, as I said, it's simplicity which is the key to it, and kind of the whole idea of just taking a groove from your head and getting it down on the page, and again, not overcomplicating the scenario. I mean, like I said, I've got drums, a bass, and a synth line, and that's the. And
I guess being a DJ yourself, you know, you do have the club in mind, and
for sure with this one,
work well, you know.
Definitely the dance floor was fully in mind with this track. It was this definitely made for the dance floor fully. Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So I think that's about it from T. Just enough time to say many thanks for coming down.
Thank you for having me.
And yeah, make sure you go out and support the EP. Can We EP out on Enchufada.
It's out now. Go and get involved.
Thanks a lot, mate.
Thank you.
Cheers.
Cheers.